Ilina and welcome to another LDRS creative card making video. For today's video, for today's two cards, I'm using two new products, and those are the Impression Letterpress dies. So I'm using the Snowflake ornaments and also the Good Tidings, which is a sentiment set. I'll be using the LDRS creative watercolor paper to do my letterpress on. But before we do that, I decided to create a quick watercolor wash backgrounds and then do the letterpress. So I have here a set of watercolors, and I will secure my watercolor paper onto my glass mat and then do my quick, pretty easy watercolor wash. So I'm going with blues and teals. For the first one, I'm doing the blue, so I'm activating the watercolors. Here I'm just adding a few drops of water in each of the pens of the colors that I'll be using. And then with a white brush, I'm just adding it over my watercolor paper. So next I'm going with the lighter blue. Kind of pretty quickly, you don't really need to put much thought in this process, just go back and forth with your brush and add colors. And then I'm using the lightest blue to fill in the space to the end of my panel. These panels are A2, the watercolor paper from LDRS Creative, and are perfect for this. So I'm going back and forth and kind of spreading that color around, and I think I am done here. So you can set this aside to air dry, or you can use your heat tool to speed up the process. I used my heat tool here because I didn't really want to wait for that to air dry. Next I'm going with teal greens. So I'm just adding a little water in each of the pens that I'll be using, and then just doing my background the same way like we did the previous one. So I'm going back and forth, and then as I go down the panel, I am using lighter color and kind of blending between the two colors that are bordering each other. And then for the bottom, I'll use the lightest blue there that I also used on the previous panel. Now I'm going back and forth to blend that out, and then with the heat tool to dry that up so we can keep working on our cards. So okay, we have two panels. Now I just wanted to add more interest, so I'm using some gold and pearlescent watercolors, added drops of water to activate them, and I'm just splattering that color onto the panels. Also have white gouache that I will mix with water and do some white splatters too. So I'm just doing all those random splatters, all three of the pearlescent colors. And now I have on this acrylic block the white gouache. And I'm doing also splatters with that one too. So before we move, I let that dry. Now we can move. I have here the letterpress system, and I will position my impression dies where I want those snowflakes to be. So I want them to be on the left hand side. So I'm putting them on the right side, so because we'll mirror image it. So we put it here on the right. When we do the letterpress, it will be on the left. And I'm using gold pigment ink to add that. I just do very light taps and making sure that we have good coverage. I'm lining up here, I wanted to test it out before I go on my background. So I have a piece of plain watercolor panel and just ran that through my die cutting machine. I'll remove the top, and this looks fabulous. So I'm repeating I did not move the plates. I'm adding more ink. Now I will add my panel. I already have tape that, since I have the whole background, I didn't want to risk the chance of the tape to peel some of my watercolor background. I did a tape on the back. I kind of rolled it to create double-sided tape, and then running it through my die cutting machine. So next, let's do the second piece. I'm repeating the same process here too. Again, I'm using gold pigment ink. I have that panel onto the top of the letterpress, running through my die cutting machine. And there we have those snowflakes. Okay, now I wanted to add more snowflakes, so I'm moving those from the plate. I'm trying to figure out what I want to remove the big one, but I left it there just for positioning purposes. Reposition the smaller two. Adding the top, I did not remove that panel before, since it was already positioned. And here it's the result. So on camera you can see the impression, how deep it is, but it creates great dimension too. I'm adding more ink. Now I have the blue panel there, and running it through the die cutting machine. Okay, so now it's time for sentiment. So I have the good tidings sentiments. So here I'm trying to figure out where I want that sentiment to be. So I want it to be on the right, a little bit below the middle. So I'm putting it on the left side, again, a little bit below the middle. And then I will use black ink to letterpress this sentiment. So I'm adding the black ink there. Again, gently tapping. I'm not squishing that ink pad onto the plate because it will create kind of shadows or ghost images if you do that. So here's our letterpress sentiment. Now let's do that one more time for the second card, and then we're gonna assemble the cards together. Okay, I'm adding the plate on top, running it through my die cutting machine. And here are the finished panels. So now what I will do, because I wanted to mat them on white to create contrast, I'm trimming off a 1/4 inch on each side. Well, actually total 1/4 inch, so my finished panel is 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm trimming about 1/8 inch from each side. So the blue one is done. Now let's go to the green, the teal. We'll do the same. Gonna trim more on the bottom, less on the top, more on the left side, less on the right side, because that sentiment is very close to the edge. So now we'll just add those to white note cards. I have pre-done white note cards that are top folding. I use 4 1/4 by 11 piece of cardstock, and I scored at a 5 1/2. And here off camera I added 3 pieces of scrap cardstock on the back to create dimension, but you can use foam tape or craft foam too. So I'm adding that second one on the second note card. Okay, we're almost done here. I decided to add some embellishment, so I have some gold pearls, and I'll add 5 on each of the cards. And here are finished card. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video. Please check our blog for more ideas and more inspiration, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you soon. Bye!